Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stelliferous, and you have Crashlanded on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. This week's episode is about Carabre. The hunt for Carabre was very hard, and this story should be very interesting. The Whispering Savannah was quiet. Too quiet. Golden grassland stretched endlessly beneath Nibiru's twin suns, swaying in waves that shimmered with spectral hues. This place was old, ancient even, and the land held on to its memories, like a dying man grasping his final breath. The savannah was like a graveyard of echoes, where creatures long forgotten still roamed in the shadows between the realms. And among them was the one I had come to catch, Carabre, the Phantom Stampede. I had spent days tracking it, following hoofprints that vanished the moment I blinked. Listening to the eerie thunder of hoofs without a visible source. Carabre wasn't just fast, it was a legend, a being that existed between moments, caught in the space between past and present. But today, I was going to catch it or die trying. The first sign came just as dusk settled over the horizon. The sky bled into a deep violet, and the wind carried an unsettling hum. The grass shifted unnaturally, as if something unseen was moving through it. I pressed my fingers to the ground, a vibration. Soft, rhythmic. It was coming closer. Then, without a warning, a blur shot past me. I spun, barely catching a glimpse of golden eyes flashing in the darkness, muscles rippling beneath a body that flickered like a mirage. Carabre. Before I could react, it charged straight through me. I stumbled back, breath caught in my throat. It hadn't hit me, it had phased through my very existence. Adrenaline kicked in. I grabbed my Glyphid, but placing it now was pointless. Carabre wasn't fully here, not yet. I had to force it into the physical world. Luring the phantom would be very hard. I reached into my satchel, pulling out a vial of spectral resin, a rare substance that could anchor beings caught between dimensions. The resin shimmered like liquid moonlight, swirling as if alive. I poured it onto the ground in a wide circle, drawing an intricate glyph trap into the dirt. The energy in the air shifted immediately. Carabre sensed it. A low growl rumbled through the night. The grass flattened in a widening arc as if a great wind had pressed through. Then the stampede began. Thundering hoofs, shadows breaking apart and reforming. I had only seconds to act. I ran, not away toward it. Carabre was faster, stronger, wild, and untamed. But I had spent my life chasing the impossible. My boots pounded against the ground, muscles burning as I sprinted alongside the flickering beast. Every few seconds it would vanish, phasing out of reach, only to reappear somewhere ahead. But I had studied its patterns. It always flickered before a turn. The next time it did, I lunged not for Carabre, but for the path I knew it would take. I landed hard, skidding through dirt and grass as I placed my Glyphid straight into its path. The glyph trap activated the moment Carabre stepped into it, forcing the beast to fully materialize. For the first time, I saw it in all its glory. A sleek, caracol-like body, fur dark as the endless void streaked with ghostly trails of light. Its legs were built for endurance, powerful and lined with spiraling runes. Its horns, curved like a wildebeest's, pulsed with spectral energy. Carabre roared a sound like the sky splitting open. It charged. The capture that I had wanted was about to happen. And I had one shot. As it bore down on me, I grabbed the second Glyphid from my belt and slammed it into the ground. The impact triggered a pulse of energy that locked the trap in place. Carabre tried to phase, but it couldn't. The moment of resistance was all I needed. I threw the final Glyphid, and it collided with the beast's chest. For a second, nothing happened. Then light erupted. The pyramid's runes glowed, expanding into a swirling vortex. Carabre reared back, fighting the pull, its hooves churning the ground in a desperate attempt to break free. The storm of energy wrapped around its body, dragging it inward and compressing the untamable force into a containable force. and then silence. For a breathless moment, I lay there in the dirt, watching the soft glow of my glyphid where Carabre was sealed. My muscles ached, my lungs burned, but it was over. Or so I thought. A tremor rippled through the Whispering Savannah, gentle at first, then surging into a violent quake. The ground beneath me shuddered, and the once still air crackled with energy. The glyphid in front of me pulsed once, twice, before a deafening crack split the night. The runes on the capture pyramid, which is my glyphid, flared, then shattered like fragile glass. The air tore open with a spectral burst, and from within the swirling chaos, Carabre exploded outward. It wasn't just escaping, it was furious. Its body flickered like a mirage, shifting between existence and non-existence faster than I had ever seen. The glowing lines along its legs and horns burned brighter, its golden eyes ablaze with wild defiance. The moment it hit the ground, it ran, a blur of ghostly speed, tearing across the savannah, leaving a shockwave of energy in its wake. I cursed under my breath, forcing myself upright. The first glyphid had held, but only for a moment. Carabre was stronger than I had anticipated. It wasn't enough to just capture it. I had to contain it completely. I reached for my second glyphid. This one was different, unlike the first, which was designed to be placed and activated from the ground. This one was made for pursuit. A glyphid that could be thrown mid-chase, because I was going to have to run it down. I sprinted after the streaking phantom, my heartbeat pounding like a war drum. The Whispering Savannah blurred around me, the tall grass blending and breaking in the wake of Carabre's wild escape. I could barely keep up. Its movements weren't just fast, they were erratic, slipping in and out of reality like a half-formed thought. 1 second it was ahead, the next it was to the side, flickering between distances faster than I could register. If I was going to stop it, I had to act now. I gritted my teeth and hurled the second glyphid. The pyramid spun around the air, its engraved runes igniting with silver light. The moment it neared Carabre, the device denoted not in an explosion, but in a burst of binding energy. Chains of spectral force erupted from its center, lashing out like a living net. Carabre tried to phase, but the glyphid was different. The chains caught, wrapping around its legs, anchoring it in place. For the first time, Carabre stumbled. It fought, hooves stamping into the ground, spectral energy crackling as if struggling against the glyphid's pull. But even though it was temporarily bound, I could feel the resistance, the sheer force of its untamed will shattering the bindings second by second. The second glyphid would not hold for long. I had one last chance. I yanked the final glyphid from my belt. Unlike the other two, this one had to be placed, driven into the earth like a seal. Carabre had almost broken free once again, its energy flaring dangerously. If it escaped this time, I wouldn't get another shot. I dived forward, slamming the last glyphid into the ground, just as Carabre reared back for one of his final bursts of power. The moment the glyphid struck soil, a wave of energy rippled on outward. The earth pulsed. The runes along the pyramid flared brighter than the twin suns above. The savannah itself responded, as if acknowledging the ancient power at play. A massive vortex spiraling into existence around Carabre, pulling at its flickering form. The beast fought, its roar shaking the very air, its golden eyes burning with the desperate, untamed spirit. But the vortex held. Slowly, Carabre's form compressed, its essence between being pulled inward, sealed away into the awaiting glyphid. The stampede of echoes faded, and the storm of energy stilled, and then silence. I fell back onto the ground, my entire body trembling. I had won. The final glyphid pulsed gently in the dirt beside me, its captured spirit still radiating warmth. Carabre's golden eyes glowed softly from within, no longer wild, just watchful. I exhaled, dragging myself upright. The hunt had nearly ended in failure. The first glyphid had not been strong enough to hold it. The second had been designed for speed, to delay it just long enough for a real trap to be set. And the third? The third had been the only one powerful enough to truly bind Carabre's essence. Some creatures surrender to the Glyphs easily. Others fight to their last breath, but Carabre had almost outrun fate itself. I reached down and picked up the Glyphid, brushing the dirt from its engraved surface. The golden glow flickering within contained, yet never truly tamed. Some creatures are caught, others choose to follow. I had a feeling Carabre would never be either. But maybe, just maybe, it had decided I was worth keeping up. The Glyphid pulsed in my hands, a faint golden light flickering beneath the engraved runes. Carabre was still running, not across the Whispering Savannah, not between the folds of time, but within the seal that now contained its restless spirit. Even after all the struggle, all the near misses and broken traps, it had not surrendered. The hunt had ended, but the chase would never truly be over. And that was exactly why I needed to show Professor Orion. Luon Academy's halls were quieter than usual when I arrived. Evening light streamed through the grand arched windows, casting long shadows across the stone floors. The scent of old parchment and burning incense filled the air, a signature mix of Orion's study. I found him exactly where I expected. Professor Orion stood hunched over his desk, a magnifying lens perched over one eye as he examined a shattered Glyphid fragment. His robes were covered in ink stains, his fingers dusted with chalk from the countless Glyphid equations scrawled across his walls. His mind, as always, was deep within the mysteries of Glyphs and their connection to the world. I stepped forward, clearing my throat. Professor, I caught something new. His head snapped up. The intensity of his gaze, even in his old age, had never dulled. Oh? And what makes this one worth interrupting my research? His tone was sharp, but the curiosity in his expression betrayed him. Without a word, I lifted the Glyphid, its golden glow flickering like a caged star. Orion's eyes widened slightly, but he said nothing at first. He reached for it carefully, as if afraid that the very touch might break its fragile hold. The moment his fingers brushed the surface, a ripple of energy pulsed outward. The faint sound of hoofs echoed in the chamber, distant yet powerful. The remnants of Carabre's Phantom Stampede. Fascinating, he mumbled, his expression darkened with intrigue. He turned the Glyphid in his hands, running his thumbs over the carved runes. This is no ordinary glyph. I crossed my arms, watching him carefully. I nearly lost it twice. The first glyph cracked under its power. The second barely held it long enough for me to place the third. Carabre doesn't just exist in one place. It shifts, slipping between moments like a ghost that refuses to fade. Orion nodded, slowly, still studying the glow within the device. A creature caught between the past and the present, and yet you managed to bind it. He set the Glyphid down with reverence, his expression unreadable. Tell me, Stelliferous, do you think it has truly submitted? I hesitated. The glow within the Glyphid flickered, a brief, knowing pulse. No, I admitted. I think it's still running, even now. A slow smile crept across Orion's face. Then you've caught something truly rare, my dear. Not a glyph, but a legend that refuses to be forgotten. He leaned back, folding his hands together. The question is, what will you do with it? I glanced down at the Glyphid, feeling the restless energy still swirling inside. I knew the answer before Orion had even asked the question. I wouldn't try to tame Carabre. I'd run with it, because some creatures are caught, others choose to follow. And Carabre would never stop running. I didn't take Carabre to just any resting place. I brought it home. Nestled beneath the twin suns and the 3 moons of Nibiru, my home wasn't merely a structure. It wasn't just walls and a roof. It was a sanctuary, a place where glyphs, too rare or untamed or ordinary containment, could roam freely. The heart of it was built within the bones of an ancient pyramid, its halls humming with the energy of countless runes, its chambers connected to the land itself. Here the echoes of the past thrive alongside the living, forming a refuge where lost creatures could belong. And it was more than just a sanctuary for my glyphs. It was home. Home to me. home to Xenia. Or Senna, sorry, I don't know why I said her name wrong, but she's my friend and my, well, now roommate, but anyways. As I stepped through the threshold, Carabre's Glyphid pulsed one last time before fading into stillness. But I could feel it, the restless energy, the flicker of movement just beneath the surface. The Phantom Stampede was still running. And he would be running when I let him out of the Glyphid. So, I placed his Glyphid on the ground and I pressed the release button. And these beautiful golden runes just climbed up the Glyphid, releasing him into my sanctuary. The Glyphid pulsed in my hands once again as I stepped through the threshold of my home, the sanctuary where my glyphs thrived. The air inside carried the quiet hum of energy, a mixture of countless spirits, coexisting in one space, each powerful in its own right. For a moment, Carabre's light flickered erratically, as it sensed the presence of others. Then, with a deep breath, I set the Glyphid on the ground and activated the release valve at the top. A burst of spectral energy erupted outward, rippling through the air like a phantom shockwave. The glow of the Glyphid expanded, and then, in a flash of golden light, Carabre was free. The great phantom beast landed in a crouch, its sleek body low to the ground, its ears twitching as it scanned the sanctuary. The glowing runes along its legs and horns pulsed with weary energy. Its tail flickered sharply as it absorbed the unfamiliar scents and sounds around it. It wasn't alone. The other Glyphids had already noticed. From the towering crystalline cliffs, Umbrex, a glyph made of shifting, blackened stone, emerged, its massive, glowing core watching silently. In the sky, Stratoscree, a storm-born raptor, circled once before letting out a shriek of warning, as if testing the newcomer resolve. In the open fields, the smaller glyphs, Lunapup, Turdicat, and Emberskin, gathered at a distance, curious but cautious. And then there was one glyph that I find very important because it was my first glyph. My Orabeak, also watching. Carabre exhaled sharply, its golden eyes narrowing. It took a single step forward, and the entire sanctuary reacted. A rumbling growl came from the shadows as Voidstalker, one of the oldest and most territorial glyphs, materialized near the tree line. Spectral body pulsing with dark energy, the very air vibrated with tension. Carabre didn't flinch. Instead, it ran, not away, through them. It streaked past Umbrex, its ghostly form flickering, vanishing for a moment before reappearing several meters ahead. It leaped onto the stone formation, racing across the cliffs at Stratoscree, or as Stratoscree dove toward it. The last second, Carabre phased, allowing the bird to pass right through it before reappearing in the open fields. Smaller glyphs scattered, yipping and hissing in protest. But Carabre wasn't attacking, it was testing them. It was showing them what it was, a being that would never be caught, never be caged. Finally, it skidded to a stop, kicking up a gust of golden dust as it turned to face the others. Its breath was steady, muscles still coiled with energy. Voidstalker watched from the shadows. Umbrex remained unmoving, like a monolith. Stratoscree hovered, sharp eyes locked onto the Phantom Stampede. And then something shifted. The tension broke. The challenge had been met. Carabre huffed, tossing its head, and the other glyphs slowly accepted its presence. Stratoscree let out a softer call before soaring higher, returning to its usual roost. Umbrex's glow dimmed slightly as it returned to its resting place. The smaller glyphs inched closer, their fear replaced with curiosity. Even Voidstalker, though it lingered in the darkness, no longer bristled with hostility. Carabre had proven itself. This was no lost creature, no outsider waiting to be driven away. This was one of them now. I let out the breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Carabre turned to look at me, its golden eyes meeting mine for a long moment. There was no fear, no hesitation, just understanding. And then, without another sound, Carabre ran again, this time not to escape, but to explore its new home. And that, my friends, is the very story of Carabre and how he was caught. I hope that you enjoy this episode of How I Caught Carabre. And may Zelthar shine his guiding light on you. Until next time, this is the Monster Catcher's Journal, signing off.